All right. Hey, everybody. Dave, Cooper, and Jennifer here for another Building Modular episode number 23. Is that right? 23? 23. So thanks for joining us today. We are live on 3 locations, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. And for those of you just joining us, please hit that like and share button so we can spread the news on what's happening in the world of Offsite and why it is the better way to build and the healthier way to build. Jennifer, today's kind of a fun show because actually the last 2 shows have been kind of fun because we've kind of taken a recap or kind of a break of teaching about modular construction solely because there's so much important information to share on some other topics, but then we're back into it next week.
Yeah. And you know what? Some of this is inspired by the back to school season, to be quite honest. There's a lot of distance learning happening right now. And what we're finding with that is there's a new approach to learning. It's not just teachers teaching. We could sit here and bore you all to tears on the how to blah, 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 blah.
How to.
Right. But what we're trying to really do is share with you all of the resources available that you can use and leverage and learn on your own.
That's right.
At your own pace. So that's kind of what we're doing. We're teaching people to teach themselves, essentially, because the game keeps changing. The rules keep changing. The world keeps changing. So where do you go? What are some of the resources available to figure out how to put your business plan together, how to consider different methods of construction, the modern methods of construction. And yes, it will be, there will be a little bit of the how-to woven in between. But some people literally don't even know where to start.
They do not know. And that's what's kind of great about what we've been doing here, because we've been getting questions from all over the place on all of these different topics. And we're going to answer some of these nagging questions. And, that's kind of why you saw in some of the posts that Jennifer put out, calling all builders, developers, designers, site builders, stick builders. Today's the day to kind of learn. We're going to talk about some of the questions that have been coming up, some of the myths that are out there. And we're going to actually, hopefully have an engaging conversation with you today.
Absolutely. So as usual, tell us where you're from, tell us what you're working on, tell us what you're interested in learning more about. Share with us your stories of, some of the hurdles that you may have bumped into and now have a shining success story on the other side. Because as we're all learning, case studies, successful case studies, really strong pro formas, better than a marketing campaign.
Yeah, 100%. Listen, there's a couple people that I always like to say hi to real quick. So, hey, we have George Ryman from Hot Phoenix, Arizona, always joining us, George. It's wonderful having you. Anthony Goudet, what's happening, Anthony? Self-learning and modular is critical. So excited for the show today. Well, we're excited that you're here. And look who else is here. We got Judy Donnell. What's up, Judy? Judy was on our show recently. Good to see you, Judy. I hope all is well. I look forward to continuing our conversation. And man, she does so much for our industry.
She does. And Judy, thank you, because you served as a catalyst for some of this conversation.
You did.
You worked so hard to develop members within the NAHB and bring members together and really help people understand the value of organizations like the NAHB. And whether you're part of that organization or not, there is a community there, right? There is the value of community. So we're trying to follow in your footsteps, Judy. So thanks for inspiring us.
Absolutely. I love it. So we'll just look, man, Rick Hawkins, what's happening, Rick? Good to see you. I hope all is well. We almost made it to Georgia, but we didn't. We made it down to South Carolina recently. Took a little family time, so that was a lot of fun. So good to see you. Good to see you, Rick. Always a pleasure. And George Ryman had a question. This is a big thing that's coming up, right? Where could a company like Surefoot Foundations turn for investor options? Well, George, funny enough, reach out to us. I mean, that's one of the things we have people reaching out to us for all the time. If that is something you're interested in, after the show or later in the week, give us a hello and we'll see if we can point you in the right direction.
Yeah. And that's why, we put in the title of this, calling all investors, calling all developers, calling all site builders, because it takes a village, not to go somewhere that, is political, but it takes a village to create change and bringing the right stakeholders together really is important.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. All right, Jennifer, why don't we hop into the show today? And everybody, please take note and please share this. We have the NAHB Building Systems Week coming up September 21st through the 25th. It is free to register. It's a virtual event. We're going to cover some of the speakers in our conversation today and what's happening. We're lucky enough to be emceeing that whole event and being the moderator for all of these panels, which we're really looking forward to. And we're going to see if we can also do some live stuff in between, if possible, to still get the word out for those of you who can't attend.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Perfect. So, Jennifer, let's hop into our presentation today.
Yeah. So, a lot of people talk about the barriers to further adoption of offsite construction. What we want to do is kind of tilt that on its side a little bit. And yes, we'll talk about the barriers, but let's use some positive language. Let's promote further adoption of offsite construction and talk about some of those barriers and answer with some of the solutions that Modular provides.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to reshare this, Jennifer, because it will look better in full screen. Watch this. Bam.
Okay, there we go.
All right. So with that said, let's move on, right? One of the big things that's been happening and that we've been having on the show is a lot of the big investment companies, McKinsey being one of them, in our conversation with George Casey, talking about how the disruption is reshaping the world's largest ecosystem. And it really is happening. So we're going to jump into, this is kind of the why we're going to get into the rest of our stuff, but go ahead.
Yeah. When you talk about the world's international global consulting firms, McKinsey being one of them. When these consulting firms are pointing everyone in the direction of offsite construction, why isn't there further adoption? So, to your point, McKinsey, how disruption is changing the world's largest ecosystem. Construction. When was the last time we had major changes in the construction world?
Like 150 years ago. 150. There's some of you, listen, like 3D printing, mighty buildings. You guys are doing awesome. So that doesn't relate to you and others that are out there that have tried to work within the parameters to do things in a more automated, better way. But yes, Jennifer, should I get my soapbox out? Anybody want to see my soapbox? It's really big. No. It hasn't changed, but it is changing now. We have people all over the globe joining us in this conversation every single day of the week. Talking about how this disruption is happening and how we are growing and how we are taking it to the next level. And the fact that, traditional site builders and stick builders and suppliers are all really starting to take a hard look at doing this better. And offsite's the better way to build. We know that.
Yeah. Well, we do know that because we've, very early on, took these footsteps, and it's easy for us to say now. It's kind of like riding a bike. Those first few moments.
20 years ago, Jen.
Yeah, I know, right? But riding a bike, is for the very first time is scary. Learning a new language for the first time is scary. Once you immerse yourself in that culture and that country and that essence, well, then it becomes familiar and it becomes a habit. And we'll talk about that in a little bit as well.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So we had McKinsey. Now we also have Ernst & Young. Also, digital now touches everything we do, and it does. And we've been having presenters on the show. Watch this. I'm going to try a different way of doing this.
Oh, goodness.
Oh, I can hide now.
All right. So where are you? So Ernst & Young, another one, talking about transformation within the construction sector and how digital is touching everything we do. Even for us, we come home and we can voice activate opening the garage. It's everything. So how do we integrate that digital transformation to take construction to the next step?
Yeah, so that's another big topic that we've been having. So it's not just the automation of the manufacturing process, it's also the technology being used before the automation, during the automation, and after.
Yeah. And again, it's like for those of you who are a little bit older, you remember the days where we had memos. Remember when you had to type a memo and put it in somebody's inbox, and that, changed and became email, and people were like, what do you mean? There's no more paper? Where's my memo? I need to print this. No different, like moving to a paperless society. That's the whole world has done that.
It really has. All right. So who's the next one? Another big player, right?
Yeah.
We have Deloitte. Promoting further adoption in offsite construction as well. A confluence of trends will enable established technologies to be used in new disruptive ways. So here it is again. People are talking about it.
Yeah.
Is it really happening though?
Well, here's the thing, and you know, the Deloitte study had so many other great points in it, but essentially what we're saying here is it's not one big swooping new tool that you will embrace and change, you know, your whole world. What we're saying is there are all of these, you know, different tools, some of them small, some of them big, that you can use to digitally transform your business to better leverage the power of offsite construction. So it's not just one thing. It's kind of like a bouquet of flowers. You know, yes, a bouquet of roses is lovely and beautiful, and you can certainly have that. But what about those mixed bouquets that bring in all of those different elements, you know, some greens and whatever it might be, you know, different styles of flowers, different colors. Like, think of this as your bouquet, your tool belt. You don't just have one tool in your tool belt.
No, we have several tools in our tool belt. And we have several flowers outside too, except for the one something ate while we were gone. All right, so we've covered the really big three, and you know, yes, everybody knows we're pushing this stuff. Let's get into the conversation now. Wouldn't you say? Why don't we talk about what are the barriers, or what are the perceived barriers that are out there, Jennifer? And we're going to put this up right now. You ready?
Yeah, let's go.
All right. Is there still a limited supply chain of offsite construction experts? And I know we have some offsite construction experts listening right now, but this is a question. If you have an answer to this, put it out there. We're going to discuss it. Is there still a limited supply chain of offsite construction experts? What do you think, Jennifer?
Well, here's what I think. How can you even answer that question? Are you going to, you know, do a digital poll of you know, who's in offsite construction and who's not? And
tell us in the comments below, please.
Yeah, but here's the great thing. There is a tool out there that can help you figure out who geographically is in your area doing this, and what segment, what vertical are they in. So an amazing tool that the Housing Innovation Alliance, you know, just one of many tools, I'm sure Hanley Wood and everybody else has
in collaboration with MHBA, the Building Systems Council. So it wasn't, you know, there was a big collaboration for this.
A team, right?
Collaborative team.
A bunch of stakeholders, all volunteered the information, and now there's a map. There's a heat map out there.
There is a heat map,
and it's, you know, all the different segments of offsite construction: panelized, modular, pods. You know, there's so many different things that you can filter on, because the landscape is changing daily. And what we're finding out is that divisions that were traditionally site builders, like companies that were traditionally site builders, like Darren Series company, now have formed modular specific entities.
And building factories.
Yeah.
Completely. And building factories. And we want everybody to know, all right, so we all know this, but so I can frame it for you. Basically, you know, there are so many people, architects, builders, developers, George, investment bankers, people that are interested in this space, and they don't know where to find the information. So that's why we're going through this, right? That's why we have a lot of you out there, and you hide, you know, we don't see it because you don't like and share, because we talk to so many people and they're like, yeah, I watched your show. And I'm like, well, why don't you tell us? Right? But that's okay. We don't need you to tell us, as long as the information is getting out there. So this is what that show is dedicated to. It's having this conversation. And it's for all of you that are on the show all the time to be part of this conversation, so everybody knows who you are. That's what we're doing today.
And to share your resources, because there is a conversation that happens in the comments. There is a conversation that happens behind the scenes. And that's, again, we're trying to inspire more and more of those collaborative efforts, to bring great people together, to bring the tools and the resources together to you know, further your opportunity to embrace change.
So with that said, hit that like and share button right now, and please invite all your developers, builders, and site builders, investors. Invite them to this conversation right now. All right, moving on, Jennifer. All right, so that is the question. I'm not seeing any comments yet, so let's see what is going on. And here's something, because we did mention this. Judy did say, "Whoop, darn, messed that one up."
Wrong way. So again, another resource is, if I
Judy
had
put
a
up
drum
registration.
roll, we would do the drum roll right now. But yes, registration for IBS opens today. And as of now, it's still an in-person event. We're talking about February dates in Orlando. We were looking at hotels this morning.
We booked our hotel. I'm confident. I'm hoping that IBS is happening. And I know hotels book out quickly. So you're right, Judy. Registration open today. If you want to hang with us, we're staying at the Hilton. Where are we staying?
You're really going to give it away?
Yeah, let's hang out, man. Orlando, SeaWorld, right? Yeah. We may bring our kids down and somebody to watch them, and they can enjoy that time as well. But typically for us, it's 7 a.m. till 1 a.m. every day we're there during the show.
Like most of you, right? You're making the most of it. You're networking. You're having those conversations. So until then, network online. Go to resources like the Housing Innovation Alliance. Go to all of these virtual events. We're going to hit up some of those in the end of the presentation, and find out where all the suppliers are, where your partners are, so that you can make a good decision. You're typing away over here. Okay.
Well, I want to put this ticker up because I think Judy made a very good. That's a chat. Sorry.
All right. So
keep going, Jen. I know I'm holding up progress here, but you know what? I missed something, and Judy Donnell is absolutely right. So
she is. Yeah. And the other thing we didn't mention, we talked about the consulting firms, but there's also academia, which, hugely supports what's happening in offsite construction, modern methods of construction, industrialized construction. We had the great fortune to have Dr. Brent Musson on talking about, the assembly approach to offsite construction. We've had Ivan Rupnik talk about, further adoption in offsite construction. What ModX is doing is pretty amazing. Then we have academics like Eric from
University of Denver, right?
Denver, USC recently launched a construction
Offsite,
tech.
they did.
And then future tense.
Stone Pile.
Can't wait to talk further with Base 4 about Stone Pile, which is a college dedicated to offsite construction.
100%. I mean, how cool is that an architectural firm is starting their own college based around Base 4, based around offsite construction, which is a big deal.
Right.
Absolutely. You got to love that, right? I mean, talk about an industry that says it doesn't exist. Somebody's going to create it, and that's what's happening, and that's what's super cool. Yeah. All right, moving on, Jennifer. Here's the next question. You ready?
Let's hear it.
Jennifer doesn't know the questions till I put them up. That's a lie, but I'm just saying it. All right. Is there confusion about how the building code is applied on modular projects? Okay. So if you tuned in yesterday for Tom Hardiman, right, from Hardiman and Williams, also the CEO or Chief Executive Officer for MBI as well as MHBA, he was on, and they are working on a universal code. What was it, 1200 and 1204, I think?
1205.
1205, to have a standardization of offsite construction codes with the ICC across the country, because there's no standardization of that. And there needs to be, to simplify our process to make doing what we do, whether it's modular, panelized, concrete, 3D printing, whatever the case is, easier and better for all of us.
Yeah, and we talked about this with Greg, also immediate past chair of the NAHB. I think Judy on the show that the both of you were on together. There is a major review process for codes that do get adopted, and whether you're a supplier or a builder, there are ways to get involved. So to your point, 1200 and 1205 are up for review, or they're working on them. So definitely check out the ICC website, take a look at what those code changes include, and now's your chance to have a voice.
It is.
And really, champion what's important to you.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely check it out. Those of you who are experienced in our space, I highly recommend that you give a little bit of your time, go look at it, and help us make, when I say us, because I'm looking at it, make decisions and help drive this so it benefits us all. I mean, we have a group of people all working together to make this happen. Doesn't mean they have all the answers. Doesn't mean they've looked at everything. They're trying to. Right. They're putting their heart and soul into it. But, we have such a smart audience out there that I think that, you'll have a lot of input in this, and we may get something that they didn't get. And I think that's important to say.
Yeah,
for sure.
And when you talk about code and as it relates to on-site inspections, off-site inspections, and how that all works, dial back a couple of episodes. I don't know if it was 20 or 21. We talked about partnering with your modular manufacturers. And I think next week we'll actually have one of the modular manufacturers on the show to talk through, like, what are the differences? What are the inspections that happen in the factory? What are the inspections that happen in the field? Because at the end of the day, regardless of the method of construction you choose to build that dwelling, if you're building to IRC code, you have to achieve IRC code.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
So the end result is the same. It just may be a little bit different how you get there.
That's right. We're building to the same code as anybody else. And sometimes it's even more stringent. Jen, I saw a couple things here I just wanted to note from our audience. So we have, I love this name. We got Crypto Hunky. What's happening, Crypto? Hi, I'm an avid believer in modular and prefab in LA. I think the prefab has been around for a long time. The real challenge is the city unions and conventional GC subs are not used to it. Okay. Did we get hacked?
He just stole your soapbox.
Did you just hack me, Hunky? I love it. I think that's the coolest thing ever. So, all right. Well, that was the first thing that we have. And then we also had a follow-up. As you guys said, I definitely believe that it is infiltrating behind the scenes by VCs and tech companies, which is very, 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 very true. So I wanted to point that because that's part of the beginning conversation. We'll come back. I see Joel and some other ones in there too.
Yeah. So just to kind of speak to that, we mentioned that we had Dr. Brent Musson on, and he did his research on, based in LA also, further adoption in LA. And that is an environment that's highly regulatory. Also an environment that is suffering from a critical housing shortage.
That's right.
And from a density perspective, right? It's hard to navigate some of those LA streets. And we saw, I think it was Scott Bridger from ProSet, how they were doing SAW modules to get a project into LA.
Yep. Oh, yeah. They were cutting the modules in half. They call them SAW boxes.
SAW boxes. Mm-hmm. So there are a lot of creative solutions out there. Yep. And, staying away from the conspiracy theories as to why there isn't further adoption of offsite construction, we're just going to stick to, the stuff that's above the line.
Yeah. We did a job like that in Union City, if you remember.
We did.
We had like 50-foot modules, and it was deep in the city. We actually had to do them in 25-foot modules to get it in.
We did, dropping power lines and
everything else that has come with it. All right, Jennifer, we're moving on to the next question. You guys are awfully quiet out there. Either we have all the answers. Do we have all the answers? No. Or we're just doing a really good job at talking today. Who knows? All right, here we go. All right. Is it an all or nothing approach to construction?
So offsite construction, it's not A or B. It's not chicken or steak. It's not, I'll take this and not that. There are many entities out there taking a hybrid approach, and I love it. Yeah. Everyone from, even what Jerry McCaughey and Tekra is doing from a panelized, the FIOS that they're working on. They're collaborating with traditional site builders and using, panelized construction to offer an offsite solution.
That's right.
But everything else is done on site. There are other people like Plant Prefab and Steve Glenn and what they're doing. They take a hybrid approach, and I love it because, it's a combination of offsite and onsite build. It's a combination of wood, construction, and steel.
That's right.
So they're taking, and they have some of the best architects in the world designing that product. So it isn't all or nothing. There are, sometimes it doesn't make sense to use offsite construction. Sometimes it just doesn't.
Right.
But other times it makes sense to possibly do a portion of the construction.
Well, I think it always makes sense to use some form of offsite. It's just a matter of whether it's panelized or modular or concrete, whatever the case is. But I think it fits in all facets of the construction world today. But you're right. Volumetric is not always going to be the solution. And 3D printing will not always be the solution to where it's going to go. Absolutely. 100% agree with that. All right. So Jennifer, then I have some of these other deck slides. Should they be up here when we're doing some of these things?
No, we'll get to those. Let's keep, yeah.
Right. I'm ready. Okay. Moving on. All right. Are there design limitations? Okay. All you designers, all you architects, all you builders, all you site builders, are there design limitations in offsite construction? And the answer is, yeah, maybe, but not really. I think it just depends on what type of construction you're doing. Heck, if you look at all the high-rise buildings being in Manhattan and, and everywhere else, they're either being done modular or there's a whole ton of panelization going on with the steel and concrete walls.
Well, think about it. You talked to, I think it was Joseph Acadia from Anderson Windows. Like, I'm going back 2 years.
Right. He was with AK. He's not with them anymore.
Yeah, he was with Anderson Windows at the time. And what he was saying is, early days of construction, the windows were actually built on site. And Anderson came up with a way to fabricate the windows off-site.
That's right.
And bring them on-site. So that is an example of how, components of construction have evolved over time. Trusses, same thing, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Trusses used to be built on site and now they're being built off-site. So again, this is stepping back to number one, what Brent Musson was talking about from an assembly approach. How do you get the different components and turn people into, folks who are assembling it on site versus constructing it on site? There is a difference there. And also I would love to know what Joel has to say about, are there design limitations? Because I know he's soon to be out of stealth mode with his solution in terms of how architects from an open source perspective can easily design into manufactured for assembly.
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like I said, Joel's on here. So it would be good to have your opinion. Joel, you always have something interesting to say, which I love. But I think, Jen, moving forward and understanding if there are design limitations, I think it really comes down to how creative you are. What you can't build modular or what you can't do panelized, you just do that portion of the job on site and you mix the two. It becomes that hybrid approach we've been talking about, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And even in our, exposure to the construction industry, residential construction, I should say, we've worked on projects where it's been a combination of modular, volumetric, and post and beam. When you think about, the horse barn that we built, all post and beam. Oh yeah,
that was a fun project.
Yeah. And but on the house, it was volumetric construction.
It was.
When you think about how we are building homes where modules are coming together and that on-site, vestibule, if you will, is constructed on site to give that big open span and connect the modules and the walkways.
Yeah, depending on the size. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, even for us, we have so many examples that we've personally constructed using the hybrid approach. Yeah,
for sure. I mean, post and beam mixed with modular is beautiful, by the way. Just so you know.
And it's funny. I didn't even get to share this with you. I was reading about Steve Jobs. Everybody knows, Steve Jobs from Apple.
Yeah.
And one of the myths, I have to validate whether this is true or not, but I think he grew up in a post and beam house and he loved the simple design. And that led to his inspiration of the simple design, the simplicity, the beautiful products that Apple designs.
I have his book. I haven't read it yet.
I know.
Has anybody read it? Is it worth reading? It has to be.
It is.
I mean, he's brilliant. This guy.
I know. So his early days was exposed to post and beam construction, simple construction, beautiful design. And he applied that to a lifelong journey.
Yeah, he really did. He really, really did. So, all right, good. So is there limitations? What have we decided?
No, it's limited to your own imagination.
That's
right. There are tools out there that can help you bridge that gap. And the other thing, I don't know if I'm jumping ahead now, but how often does an architect design something that once those plans are on site, the builder sits there and scratches their head and says, I'm not really sure how I'm going to build this.
Yeah.
And offsite construction takes that guesswork out of it. That's one way that we can turn more projects into products.
Absolutely. Who were we just talking with where they designed it and then it couldn't be built?
Yeah, I mean, well, we won't mention any names. We are not going to mention any names.
So, but that happens all the time. We're an offsite. That's not typically going to be an issue. We're going to design things that can be built, and we're doing a completely different project. So I won't go down that road.
No.
Yellow brick road. All right, Jennifer, here we go. Is the upfront cost higher and is earlier technical approvals harder with OCS? Offsite construction, for those of you who don't know that abbreviation.
Okay, here's the deal. Number one, you need to make sure you're comparing apples to apples, right? Somebody used the analogy several weeks back of how much does a bag of groceries cost? Well, what are you putting into that bag of groceries? How do you even know how to quantify that? Right. And with offsite construction and traditional site-built construction, the cost is the cost. Right. You know, there may the payment schedule and when payments are due. And we talked about curbside funding and all the, you know, we had Tom Coronado on talking about the different schedule. Right. But just because the schedule is different, it doesn't mean the costs are necessarily different. So the cost is the cost, whether you know, pay me now or pay me later, essentially is what we're talking about.
When we've covered this in great detail over the last several weeks, 23 weeks, 23 weeks. You know, it really is. You have to look at the entire cost of offsite construction. If you're going to compare apples to apples, sticks to sticks, it's never going to be a less expensive option. It's just not. But if you look at the entire project, everything from labor savings, from on-the-job delivery savings, and the overall cost of getting heads on beds, months, if not months, before anybody else can do it. These are all huge cost savings. And when it's all said and done, you're typically going to find that it's going to be less for you to build using offsite.
Absolutely. There's cost control involved. You know your cost. The contingency budget that's, you know, set aside may go untouched. Change orders and decisions that are left to be made in the field. I was just walking through a job site the other day, you know, traditional on-site construction, and the builder had no idea what plumbing fixtures were going in. Had no idea how to template the countertops because he wasn't sure what type of faucets were being used, or, you know, showers, you know, was it a single or a double? I mean, all of those decisions are made up front with offsite construction. But what that means is you're not waiting on a delivery down the road. You're not waiting for a client to make a decision. You are making those decisions sooner, and you are committing to them sooner, but that offers valuable time and money saved down the road.
Yeah, 100%. And if anybody ever wants to have this conversation offline to truly understand what it is, we're more than happy to walk you through this entire thing. So, all right, Jennifer, this is where Crypto Hunky, I love that name. The Crypto Hunky kind of hit the nail on the head with part of this conversation. But in the meantime, before I go there, did you notice what I put in the ticker?
No, let's see.
We are going to be streaming live from ModLogic tomorrow in their manufacturing facility in Pennsylvania, 1 p.m. for our product spotlight. So be sure to join us tomorrow at 1 p.m. You want to see inside ModLogic? They did, and they got blasted with some promo yesterday. We ended up doing a hospital edition with them in Axis Construction with John Buongiorno. I always get it wrong, and he beats me up for it, but that's fun. 11 and a half weeks. We did 7,000 square feet of pediatric edition. So we are going to their manufacturer tomorrow because we were on location live showing the set, and we did the ribbon cutting 11 and a half weeks later. And tomorrow we're going to show you how they did it.
Yeah. And I mean, paint was on the walls, you know, fixtures were in, it was a beautiful space. The community was so happy. The doctors were so happy. The planning committee was so happy. So these are the case studies that we're talking about. You know, these are the success stories that we're trying to share with everybody, trying to share with the world, so that there is further adoption of offsite construction.
100%. 100%. So I'm going to leave that ticker up there because that's an exciting one. All right, Jennifer. So getting back to what Crypto Hunky was bringing up earlier, stealing our thunder. Nah, I'm just kidding, man. I really love super smart people tuning in to us and having this conversation. True or false? Trade labor unions don't like offsite construction because it reduces the need for traditional trade labor. Anybody out there want to give us true or false on this? We'll wait. Tick, tock, tick, tock. You know what's really cool, Jen? I actually have a countdown timer now that we can always put on, but goodness. I won't do it. All right, everybody has 30 seconds. No, I'm just kidding. So is this true or false, Jennifer?
So this is a touchy topic, right? Because again, going back to Brent, when he was on the show, he talked about, a little bit of a conspiracy theory saying, is there really a housing shortage? Is there really the desire to fix the housing shortage? We're not here to talk about that. And we're also not really here to answer the question about trade labor unions, whether or not they like offsite construction, industrialized construction. That's not what this is about. What this is about is solving for a trade labor problem. Because what does the retention look like? What does the new group of candidates, into the different trade labor look like? Yeah. What does international policy look like in terms of, immigration and, folks coming from outside our country and getting into this business look like when so much of the construction industry has been built, with different ethnic contributions? We're not here to talk about policy or any of that. What we're talking about is the transformation that the digitization of construction will entice and encourage the next generation of trades to embrace construction as a future opportunity.
Well, I mean, that's it, right? It's not less work. It's more work. It's more projects that can happen because less unions can have less people on each job and spread themselves out and get more work. This is the important part, just on that level. Mm-hmm. So it's not less. That's the same thing when we're talking to residential builders and what have. Well, the trades don't like it because they feel it's less work. No, that means you're working on 30 of my homes versus 2 of my homes.
Right.
You're getting more done.
Absolutely. We're turning more projects into products, and we're enabling the trade labor unions to
pick up on the housing shortage
and cultivate the next generation of members. They want to grow their trade unions as much as any business wants to grow. They have everything to gain by embracing offsite construction because it does get a whole new generation of people excited.
It does.
About doing this. I mean, think about it.
Well, I mean, even the trades. All right, so we get excited a little bit. All right, we get excited about offsite, but here's the deal, right? If you're a trade and you're paying attention to what we're talking about and you're joining us, I think it's awesome. But the deal of it is, if you're out there and you have to sell your business to an potential employee, right? Or somebody to come on as a partner or however you're a teammate, well, isn't it easier to sell them that, hey, we work on the latest technology in construction. We work with some of the most advanced building products that are being put out there today. That sounds a whole lot better than, well, go get yourself a tool belt. We're going to swing the same hammer that we did 150 years ago. This is the whole buy into it, understand what we're doing, and let's take it to the next level. Because I think people, once they understand what they're doing, and I know Judy will agree with me, she's on here. It definitely, I saw that, Brett. Brett's on. He must have heard his ears ringing. So, but I think it's going to change the way you hire.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also a way to fully engage your employees and get them more integrated with the process. We had another great virtual walkthrough with Limback with Helena.
Yeah.
And I mean, how awesome is it to see a young person in the factory, like making it happen?
Oh yeah, definitely. Emil.
Yeah.
Emil was in the factory and he's running up their CAD program with Vertex, I think it's called. And he's one of the senior guys there, and he's young. Now think about a company like Lindbach's that gives that much responsibility to a young person. Do you think they know something?
Yeah. And think about the diversity and inclusivity opportunities now that we've moved to a digital construction platform. How many women out there, and Judy, would love to hear your feedback here because you started with boots on the ground. Oh, well, can they really lift this, or can they really install that? Well, when you have a crane lifting and you're just putting it in place, well, then it takes that whole conversation out of the picture.
100%. 100%. All right. So we have a couple comments that are pertinent to this question. Dr. Brent Musson is joining us today. He says false, Jennifer.
Well, I love that, because what's happening, with Musson factories also is they are putting people back to work who may have been underemployed or not employed at all with this approach. So he's setting up factories in communities that, were hit pretty hard when other industries left.
Yeah. Well, here's the Brent that I've seen and had conversations with mainly on the East Coast on this is the problem with unions and offsite construction is they don't know it. You're not going to have a bunch of steel workers come into a modular set with a crane company and 80 modules and think it's going to be a smooth process. They don't have the skilled offsite labor yet. However, they could have an offsite union, right? To meet that demand if they're going to stay in what we do. So what you're saying is absolutely right. I don't think they have a problem with it, but they don't have the skills for it. So there's going to be some headbutting there because I already know of a project where this happened. And listen, you're not going to cost us time and money because you don't know it. If my guys can get it done in half the time, right? So this is part of that education, and it's great that we're seeing people bring that education out.
Yeah, so let's pull up Brent's other point, because we have been on a call all morning about how do you reframe the picture? How do you represent the facts? And you make a great point here, Brent. The competition isn't between union or non-union. Yeah. It's between made in America versus imported. Domestic competitiveness, and reframing it. It's not us against the trades.
That's right.
It's all of us collectively against, making it a better way, less reliance on outsiders.
No, not against making it a better way, making it a better way.
See, I get so tongue-tied when I get on these topics.
Tongue-tied. All right. So there you go. I agree with that. I do think that Brent is absolutely right. And I think we have to look at it. But I also think, I think we're looking at this wrong when we talk about international influence, because the international influence is ahead of us on this. Doesn't mean they're far ahead. Doesn't mean they're that far advanced. Some of them are. But they've adopted this way of thinking already. And I think learning from them and partnering with them and collaborating with them. This is a global economy, whether we want it to be or not, depending on what world you're in. It is a global economy. And I have to tell you, I've thoroughly enjoyed talking and working with people from all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely. We have so much to learn, and inviting, like you said, those international leaders, international industry leaders, and who are much further along in the process than we are. That's that team spirit. That's that 100%. Collaborative effort. That's bringing key stakeholders together to really learn and win and, make it better for everybody.
Yeah, 100%. Sorry, I had to jump up there for a minute. I noticed something wasn't plugged in, and that would cause a problem. All right. So moving on, Jennifer, do we want to get to the comments here a little bit and see who's joining us that we haven't given some shout outs to just yet?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. Hey, what's happening, Buzz? Good to see you. Built on.
Absolutely.
Always. I'm going to keep putting this up because it's so important. Registration for IBS 2021 in Orlando starts today. Book your rooms in your hotels. I'd hold off on your airfares, but I would definitely book those things, because if this does go forward, hopefully it will, I really want to hang out with all of you. Seriously. I really am missing it very much. All right. So we already said hi to crypto. We have Joel joining us. I hope I haven't missed too much. Joel, if you're 30 seconds late, you've already missed a full days of conversation with us. Don't be late, Joel.
Thank you for joining.
Good seeing you, Joel.
Yeah.
All right. We have Andrew Sealy. Hey, what is happening, Andrew? Great. Hello. Another great show. Thank you. Well, thank you for joining. All right. Judy Donnell, I just met with Quartz Properties, Dan Hobbs. Yes. Love it. And we were talking about doing turnkey for just the unattached garages for their projects. Excited to be working with offsite builders. Very cool. So there's an example of it. Thank you, Judy. I love that you're here contributing with us. Because Judy's like all the way up here, like managing I think, Judy, correct me if I'm wrong. I think you have 80,000 NAHB associates that you're managing or that you help work with in the NAHB. 80,000. Yeah. How cool is that?
Yeah, it's a lot.
I can't even get out the door with 5 kids. I love it. Four kids and a wife. Didn't I say that last time? 3 kids and a wife. 5 of us.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
yeah. So, and Judy also said, work smarter, not harder. So true. And that's what this is about. It's not reinventing the wheel. It's just picking the right tool in your tool belt.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we have good old Anthony here. Modular promotes inclusion and equitable labor opportunities. Unions are meant to, but have to evolve to meet the opportunity industrialized construction.
100%.
And he had a follow-up to that. We should collaborate and share foreign technologists, but it is fair to negotiate our national labor force. Yes, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Love it, love it, love it. All right, Jennifer, let's get back over to our presentation here.
So, we kind of, talked through this banner, but essentially what we're saying, and we've heard others say this too, this is a cultural shift. This is not like Judy, it's not A or B, it's not this or that, and we're not competing amongst ourselves.
Right.
What we're saying is shift your culture, open your mind, embrace new opportunities, figure out how you're going to digitize your business, how you're going to connect with investors, developers, designers, real estate folks, to really just modernize your business and embrace modern methods of communication. And the other thing that, again, going to the whole back to school thing, habits and decisions are two different things. Building the way we've always built is a habit. It's not necessarily a decision. It's just familiar. It's easy. You don't have to think too hard. What we're saying is embrace the idea of making a decision. Embrace the idea of saying to yourself, what makes the most sense here? And it might be traditional on-site construction, but keep your mind open. Make it a conscious decision and not just a reliance on a habit because that's the way you've always done it. And there's a little bit of behavioral psychology around that. So we really just encourage people, break from the old habits and start making decisions.
Where were you when I was in high school? I could have broke a lot of habits because my habit was I'd walk in the front door and out the back door every day. Can't do that now. Everything's locked. But I probably could have used some of that advice back then because that was my back to school. In the front door, out the back door, we're going to the skate park.
Yeah, well, there's still a little bit of that happening, I think.
Right.
But either way, make conscious decisions and don't just rely on old habits. And, standards in our language. Establish standards in our language and how we build. So again, going back to another show, is it offsite with a hyphen or not with a hyphen? Is it modern?
What do we call ourselves?
Is it industrial? I mean, there is a little bit of this.
Yeah. Are we offsite or are we offsite? Well, this was actually Dr. Brett. Is it offsite construction? Is it offsite hyphen construction? Is it offsite OFF space site? Tell me.
I know.
Doesn't really matter in my opinion.
Shame on us. Obviously today we're introducing another acronym for sake of time. We have OSC everywhere, but again, there might be a little bit of this happening from a language. How do you refine your message and get the right people to hear it if we're all saying different things? So
let's hop into that. Building Systems Week here. I think we need to hop into this. Who is excited to hear about what's happening at the Building Systems Week? Let's talk about it a little bit. Here we go, Jennifer. Bam. So, all right. So we have a lot going on the week of September 21st to the 25th. We're going to MC this. So it's going to be a board panel. We're going to hold people true. This is going to be straight up unedited conversation. So we have Unifying the Modular Industry with Vaughn Buckley and Colby Swanson. So Vaughn Buckley from Volumetric Building Companies and Colby Swanson, who is the director of the Modular Mobilization Coalition, is going to be on that panel. It's going to be a great conversation. I love it. Absolutely love it. And then we have panelized construction coming up after that. Versatility for every project, Michael Weber. Listen, if you don't know Michael Weber, honestly, this guy has given everything to our industry. He's in the concrete world. Look him up. You need to contact Michael Weber and say hello to him. He really, really knows his stuff. And I've been fortunate enough. I've interviewed him a couple of times because he's won awards. The guy is really spectacular and knows everybody. But Michael Weber, National Business Development Manager for Usalid Chemical Company, and Dan Mitchell. Yeah. If you don't know Dan, you'd know Dan if you came to the award ceremonies because Dan's always the one up there presenting. Super nice guy. And, he also helps run our build pack. Yeah. Love it. All right, first time success with Modular. Your one and only Ken Semler from Impressive Modular Franchising. We'll be talking about this. Ken and I have been in this business for a long time. Ken may even a little longer than me. He really has taken a different approach to this. If you don't know Ken, you need to know him. Check it out. And then this is what's cool. Eric Holtz, right, is the professor, University of Denver, is going to be talking about their study that they are doing, right, with a grant from the Housing Endowment as well as the NAHB to study offsite construction. And why it's exciting to me is the guy that walked in the front door and out the back door at school, these videos are being used as part of the study, not only at his university, but other universities. And that's just really exciting for us because that hopefully means that we're making a difference.
Right. So the reason why we're sharing all this and walking through it is this is a resource of hearing those case studies, getting hands-on knowledge, and hearing from others how they've navigated and why it's been so successful for them. So, and the fact that Eric Holt is joining in from an academic perspective. He'll help us with the proof is in the pudding. Like as builders, we know when something's working or not working, but they're looking at this holistically from the outside and they're saying, hey guys, it's working. Yeah,
they are saying you might be surprised on what it is. I'm not going to let the cat out of the box or the cat out of the hat, or is it the rabbit out of the hat? One of those things. I always get them wrong. All right, so we have that happening. What is the impact of modular panelization in the construction and affordable housing? Then we have builders' attitudes towards system-built construction, and that was part of today's kind of conversation. The attitudes that in the midst that we're looking at. But Ed Hudson, Home Innovation Research Labs, the director of marketing research, will be on that panel. And then we have state of the offsite construction industry. And this is something we talk about all the time. And that's with quite a few people. We got Tom Hardiman from MBI going to be on that, MHBA, Lionel LeMay, Executive Vice President, Division Head Structures and Sustainability, the National Ready Mix Concrete Association, Jack Armstrong. If you don't know Jack, that guy's full of energy. I love Jack, Director of Structural Insulated Panels, better known as SIPS. And we also have Jesse Lowe's. Hey, Jesse, Assistant Executive Director, Structural Building Components Association. And one of my favorites, Tiffany McCall, Chairman of the National Association of Home Builders, Building Systems Council. Tiffany knows her stuff. So that's going to be a really exciting conversation.
Yeah. And this is where we can all have our voices heard and really understand from industry leaders what's happening and participate in that conversation, right? 100%. And how do we continue to evolve and change ourselves? So that's all really good stuff. And then even before that, we have, and I'm a little bit out of order here. We were talking about the Offsite Expo with Tom Hardiman. And what's great, because some of these are virtual events, the gateway price is so low.
Yeah. So I have it right here. So that was already in our slide deck, but it is so low. I think he said $199.
Yeah.
$200 to be around all these experts and learn this industry, I mean, that's really, really important to hear. I mean, this is not a lot of money if you're truly interested in bettering yourself in this industry or getting into this industry.
Right.
So September 16th through the 17th is the first event. And then a month from now, 2 months from now, we have the MHBA event out in Harrisburg.
Right.
So definitely going to be pushing those things. I want to see everybody there. All of you better.
Yeah. And again, we mentioned Hanley Wood, Jennifer Cassinson was on a couple of weeks ago. They have an event coming up, the multifamily event. And they are integrating case studies from Modular, making modular work. They have Calibroop from Pacific Companies and Westrom Development. I mean, these are case studies. These are success stories. These are easy ways to ask questions of the people who are doing this every single day. So again, today's show was designed to help you find the answers that are specific to your business needs. Yes, we'll get back to teaching the how-tos and A comes before B. But what we wanted to do is enable everybody, because we're back into trade show season right now, right? How many of you spend September, October, November on the road, and again in February with IBS? Back into trade show season. Because it's virtual this year, it's an awesome opportunity. This is epic. Right?
Epic.
I know.
It is epic. Like everybody's saying, that doesn't matter what part of the world you're in. You can now attend our events. And guess what? We can attend European events. You don't have to hop on a plane and spend thousands of dollars. And we can interact with our live show and other people out there that have live. We can now interact with people like Brett Musson, Joel Hutchins, Tom Hardiman, Devin Perry, Tiffany McCall. Think about all the people that we're allowed to get to now. Because even if you're at a trade show or I'm in a trade show, guess what? We're busy, right? We're running around. Everybody's running around. Everybody's mingling. It's not always that easy. But on these live shows, we can interact, we can have a conversation, and we can always set up more live conversations. So I think that's what's really great.
And this goes back to George Ryman's question at the beginning of the show. How do I connect with investors? Well, here's a couple of opportunities, because even, outside folks from outside of the industry, we have John Jaworski on today weighing in about how
what's up, John?
Yeah, always
we got to catch up. It's been a while.
I know. Online had a hyphen, then lost it. So this is what we should be doing is talking to people who have a different point of view, who do things a little bit differently, and integrate that into our thought process. Stop relying on old habits. Start making more decisions. And build amazing products. It's all about building amazing products.
It is all about building amazing products. All right. So I'm putting in a ticker again. Today, please sign up and come with us to IBS 2021 in Orlando. We're going to have so much fun there. We're going to be live streaming from there. We were fortunate last year to have a media pass. So this year, I'm hoping we're going to be fortunate enough to do the same thing. We really want to see you guys. And don't forget, and September 21st to 25th is NHB's Building Systems Week. If you have any questions there, join us for that. And as always, and I'm going to put this up as we always do, join our trade associations, join the NAHB, become a member, become an associate member, join the Modular Home Builders Association if you're a modular home builder, and of course, always support the Modular Building Institute. All three of these organizations are fighting for our codes, our standards, and protecting us every single day. And even from me, I was skeptical until I really got into doing this online stuff. And I said, well, why would I pay that to do this? And I'm telling you, I'm not paid to do this. Right. When you really start talking to what's happening, it's a scary thing. And without these industries supporting us, life would be hard.
Well, here's another self-serving reason why you should join some of these organizations. They all have award programs. And if you are building beautiful homes or multifamily or commercial spaces, submit your project, and while you may not win the award, you may, be a nominee or, honorable mention. Number one, you can celebrate that on your own social media. There's all these different opportunities to celebrate an award, or even just say, hey, we just submitted this beautiful home or project for an award with the Building Systems Council or with the MHBA, MBI. I get all these mixed up all the time. That's part of this too. And look at who is winning those awards and say, hey, they're building beautiful dwellings. I'd like to do that too.
100%. All right, Jennifer, anything else other than join us tomorrow at 1 o'clock for our live walkthrough at ModLogic. We are going to be walking through live. I think he said, I gotta look at my notes, but I think they're working like on 60,000 square foot building. That's huge. They're working on something there. So we're going to show it to you. So don't miss it. You want to see how we do this. I probably messed that up, but don't hold it to me. That's why it's live. Sorry. All right. All right, everybody. Jen, you got anything you want to add? Do we have any more comments before we say adios to the world?
I think we're caught up, and thank you again for tuning in, and please share this with others. Our goal is to create an inclusive environment.
It is.
And celebrate everybody's successes in order to encourage others to join us in this journey.
Yeah. And please don't ever hesitate to reach out to us, ask us questions, and disagree with us if you like. All right. So love it, everybody. I hope everybody is doing well today. I hope you have a wonderful, if I don't see you and you don't come on, have a great Memorial Day weekend coming up, right? Labor Day weekend coming up this weekend. So, all right, Jen, that's it. We're done. We'll see you guys tomorrow, and we'll see you back on Building Modular next Tuesday. And I think we're going to have a manufacturer with us. So we'll see you then. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Bye now.